J.A. Adande, I got to tell you, this season, whether it's the NFL and everything else, music, the Oscars, it's every time you turn around, there's just something you're like, wait a minute, did that just happen? I didn't see that coming. Did that really happen? Villanova head coach Jay Wright retiring. Wait a minute. Jay Wright is retiring. So my first thing, I don't know what you did when you heard the news. My first thing was like, wait a minute. Is Jay Wright older than I thought? No. Jay Wright's 60 years old. 6'0". He was at Villanova for 21 years, won 2 national championships, and a Final Four, including this year. Really took a strong program and made it even stronger. Took a strong program and turned it into a force. He's retiring not because he wants to go to the NBA, not because he's trying to do something else and come back into college basketball in a couple of years. It's just based on the reporting, he's at peace with it. He wants to do something else. He's a national champion 2 times over. See ya.
Just made a Final Four. Michael, I think he sees where this is headed, though, right? So, and
where's
he's getting ahead of it. It's headed toward chaos because of the transfer portal, right? And I mean, I think the only thing probably less palatable, less appealing to him than the prospect of chasing after 17-year-olds as he gets deeper into his 60s is the prospect of chasing after 17 and 18-year-olds in his 60s and then having to do everything to keep them around and to keep them from hitting the transfer portal once he's actually got them on campus. And I think this is going to be the trend. I think you'll see people bailing sooner rather than later. And now it's almost it's funny because we went from being like, who's going to take over for Krzyzewski, right? And Jay Wright was certainly one of the nominees for like somebody who could be the face of college basketball coaches in the post-Krzyzewski era. And I think now it's going to be who's going to be the next Jay Wright and decide, you know what, I've had a good run. Let me bounce because I really don't want to be doing this. I don't see myself doing this for another 10 or 15 years. But Jay, you actually think it's chaos? What would make it more chaotic than it is right now? I mean, you have a transfer portal in football, college football. You have a transfer portal in college basketball. And one thing it's creating, I guess, before I'd use the word chaos, I'd use I'd use a little more. Equality is not the word I'm looking for. Competitiveness. Well, that's what we get, right? That's the outcome. That's the result, Michael. But you're not the one having to manage it. And if you had to manage it, if you didn't know what your roster was going to look like from one semester to the the then you might think it's a little more chaotic.
That's why.
And he didn't cite this.
That's why they paid this. Hey, look, if it were easy, they wouldn't pay you millions and millions and millions of dollars at the university level. They pay you that, and this is part of the burden for head coaches at programs like Villanova and North Carolina and Duke and Kentucky. You got to figure this thing out. And some of the coaches have. They figured out, okay, I got these guys for a season. I don't have them for 2 years. I certainly don't have them for 4 years.
Right, and we saw certainly Mike Krzyzewski adapted to that, right, to the one and done era, and we saw him, pivot and then prosper. Obviously, John Calipari has been someone who's been very comfortable in that for a long time, and it's funny. All of a sudden, we're going to look up and like John Calipari is going to be like the dean, right, the long tenured guy. I mean, he's been in Kentucky for a while, and when guys like Jay Wright leave, and everyone else moves up the rankings. I mean, I guess is like Tom Izzo and I mean, Calipari's got to be up there now. He's been in Kentucky for a minute now. Yeah, that's right. Well, I'm going to make Gary Carter, one of our producers, I'm going to make him mad. He's a Syracuse guy. He's a Newhouse guy, the Newhouse Mafia. I know there's probably a little rivalry between Newhouse and Medill, really, or maybe y'all look at them and be like, oh, okay. They're nice in Syracuse. They're not on our level. I don't know. But when's Boeheim going to leave? Like every trend that happens in college basketball doesn't seem to affect Jim Boeheim. Here's a stat that will blow your mind. Jim Boeheim was in his 25th season when Jay Wright took the Villanova job 21 years ago. Wow.
Come on,
I mean,
bruh.
it was wild. I mean, I was thinking about this a lot.
Leave.
With the no, he doesn't have to leave. Like, I don't want him to leave anytime soon, because when he leaves, that means another part of my youth is gone. Like, it was amazing to me. Boeheim and Krzyzewski had been at Syracuse and Duke since I'd been watching college basketball, right, in the early 80s. I like certain things to stay the same way, and one of them is looking at the sidelines when you see these schools and seeing the same familiar faces. So I'm in no rush. Take all the time you want, Jim Boeheim. Don't rush out the door. We already lost Krzyzewski. Like, no, I don't want to see another part of my youth leave and depart. No, stay, Jim Boeheim. Stay as long as you want.
See, Jay Adande, you're the problem. You're the problem. See, that's it. What you just said there, that's the problem.
You saying I'm inhibiting growth?
Yes. I'd say you call it chaos. What's coming in college basketball, I'd say what's coming is a little creative tension. It's creative tension where it was easy. It was easy 10 years ago compared to now. Okay, you had the godhead, so to speak, with those guys, with Jim Boeheim and Tom Izzo and Coach K and Calipari and Rick Pitino before, he ran into his troubles. But all these guys, they were czars of the campus. And that dynamic still exists in college football. Even though there's a transfer portal, it still exists there. But in college basketball, I think they're standing on wobbly legs right now. They don't have the power that they used to have. It's harder to get these kids and to get them to stay than it was a decade ago. And I think that's a good thing. It's good.
I will say this. I mean, I think there's some exciting fresh blood. We saw what Shaheen Holloway did this year. And, now that he's going back to his alma mater, going to Seton Hall. I mean, that was a really well-coached team. And it's funny, you'd watch even pro personnel, pro executives watch and just comment on what they were doing that was so outstanding, the sets they were running and the defensive mentality they had. So what can he do? But no matter what he does, he ain't going to be there as long as Boeheim. Will he even stick around as long as Jay Wright did at Villanova? So that's the thing. We're getting things that can't be replaced. Shaheen Holloway might turn out to have a great run at Seton Hall. He's not going to replicate what we saw at Coach K at Duke. It's just not going to happen. We're not going to see that again.
All right.
I lament that.
Jay Wright, though.
I'm lamenting.
Jay Wright. I do lament the loss of Jay Wright, though. Great career.
And those suits. Maybe he got out because he couldn't wear his clean suits anymore.
Oh, man.
Like Jay Wright in a quarter zip. When you're asking him to wear a quarter zip sweatshirt, it might be time for him to bounce, man, because his suit game is strong.
Best dressed by far. Hey, Jay, before you exit stage left, why don't you hook a brother up with your tailor? Let me know who your tailor is. Ooh, always exquisite. Congratulations, Jay. Hey, thanks for watching Brother from Another on YouTube. Make sure you hit subscribe before you leave, and be sure to watch us 3 to 5 p.m. Eastern Time on Peacock. Appreciate you.